Hello everyone, and welcome to another Miniature Monday. I'm Scott, and today we are continuing our look at classic monsters. So let's unwrap our next mini, the Mummy. This model by Reaper Bones is one of many in a full set of mummy-themed creatures, including sword and shield-wielding soldiers, and even a mummy lich. But we are going with classics this month, and this one fits that to a T. We are already primed with Army Painter's Uniform Gray Spray Primer, so let's get started. First up, we will be using Army Painter's Skeleton Bone for the exposed flesh. Aside from the face and hands, I originally thought that this mummy was all wrappings, but on a closer look I found pockets of exposed skin on its arms and legs, and I was thrilled. Getting to play with all of these details is a painter's dream, and it is going to make this model so much more fun to paint. I decided to use skeleton bone for these spots because I thought it would contrast well with the color that I will be using for the wrappings, and thought that if I washed it in a flesh tone, it would create that mummified look. Next up, we will be using Army Painter's Mummy Robes for, well, the mummy's robes. I mean, yeah. This is going to take up the bulk of the mini, and once the paint is watered down to a milky consistency, we will be passing over it in multiple layers to make sure that we keep all of the details of the wrappings. We need to be very careful here to make sure we don't overlap into the exposed flesh. These are tight spots, and a fine point on our brush is going to be important. Unfortunately for me, I decided to use an old brush today, but it still gets the job done. And that's it for the base layers. Now I know, it sounds simple, but trust me, the highlights will make up for it. Onto our shading, we will be using Army Painter's Flesh Wash on the exposed skin. This is going to help bring it away from that bony look and make it more of an aged human leather that we want. Next, we will be using Army Painter's Soft Tone to add shadow to all of the wrappings. As soon as this goes on, you can see that the wrappings begin to look grimy and dirty and almost blend together with the flesh. But don't worry, we will take care of that soon. And finally, we will be using Citadel's Seraphim Sepia on the tomb floor. You may have noticed that I hadn't painted the base of this mini, and the reason for that is the color that I wanted to use was used as a primer. I wanted the base of this mini to look like a tomb floor. You know, that aged yellow on top of stone, and I think that this combo, though not perfect, does a pretty good job. And now it's time to move on to highlighting. With all of these wrappings, I wanted to bring out as much detail as I could, and so for that, I will be layering. This technique uses the original color, in this case mummy robes and skeleton bone respectively, to go back over what has already been shaded to add progressively lighter tones on the raised surfaces. This is a much longer process than dry brushing, but I really enjoy the work that goes into it, and the results are far worth it. And finally, we are going to use Army Painter's Matte Black to add some empty eyes. And with that, our mummy is ready to shamble its way from its tomb to seek revenge on those who entered. I think my biggest takeaway from this miniature is that highlighting does so much. After shading, even with the different tones, this model looked very one-note and bland. But once those highlights went on, everything came together beautifully. I thoroughly enjoyed painting this mini, and am looking forward to trying my hand at some of those more complicated mummies in the future. Is there a mummy you would like to see painted? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give the Adventurers Pack a like and subscribe for more nerdy content. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I'm Scott, and I will see you at the next Miniature Monday.